Thank you. So today's Lunch and Learn is sponsored by Dawn in honor and in the zechut of
my father,
the full name?
Mordechai ben Yaakov.
Mordechai ben Yaakov.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, thank you very much. And
learning.
may it serve as an aliyah for his neshama.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, so today's topic is as we are getting close to Pesach, and we have a very, very bland Seder compared to what it used to be, what it's meant to be according to the Torah. Right? As we have our sandwich, which is the matzah and probably romaine lettuce, dipped into charoseh, but not too much of it. Right? Kachas ahila, that's what Hillel used to do. But in fact, what it's supposed to be is, right, I would imagine soft matzah, the maror, and the freshly roasted, sorry any vegans, vegetarians, the freshly roasted korban pesach, which to me sounds very much like a shawarma, actually. When you think about soft matzah, maybe a laufa, right, and some roasted meat, and some salatin, right? So what is our stand? What is the halachic stand on sacrifices being brought today? Okay? And I thank Rabbi Howard Jachter and Chaim Jachter for the sources for what we'll be going through today. Okay, so in the Torah itself, in Parshat Vayetze, I didn't write this Parshat Vayetze, but it is Parshat Vayetze. It speaks about Yaakov. Vayikrat Shem Alkomahu Beit El Vulam Lu Shem Yelushana. He named the place Beit El. Luz was the name of the place originally. Vayidar Yaakov Neder Lemor. And Yaakov made a neder, an oath, a vow, saying, Im Yeh Kelokim Imadi, if Hashem will be with me. Ushmarani b'derech hazeh shanochi alech. And he will guard me on this path that I'm going. V'natli lechem la'achol. And he'll give me bread to eat, ubeged l'bosh, and garments to wear. V'shavti v'shalom el beit avi. And I will return in peace to the house of my father. V'ayah Hashem li lelokim. And Hashem will be for me as a God. Then, va'even azot asher samti matzeva. This stone, which I've placed as a matzeva, as a monument, yeh beit elokim. It will be a Beit Elokim, a house of God, a Mishkan, a Mikdash. And v'chol asher titein li aser asrenu lach. And I will aser asrenu, I will tithe, I will give 1/10 of everything to you. So Yaakov speaks about when I will return to the land of Israel, then I will build a Beit Hashem. And Yaakov's dream of the latter was about this Beit Elokim, the place where heaven and earth meet. So now we're back in Israel. Right? V'shavti b'shalom el Beit Avi. I don't know how much shalom we've had, but we've certainly returned to Beit Avinu, to the house of our fathers. And therefore, should we be building a Beit HaMikdash? Should we be bringing sacrifices? And we'll soon see that those two questions are not necessarily one and the same. So in the 19th century, this idea was debated vigorously, with Rav Tzvi Hirsch Kalinsher saying that we should be bringing at least certain karbanot. And we'll soon see which ones and why there are specific ones that he was advocating we should be bringing. And Rabbi Kiva Eger, the Chasam Sofer, Rav Yaakov Ettlinger were all in disagreement and saying that we cannot, should not be doing that.
And why is that?
Oh, so let's see what the issues are. Okay? So first of all, in terms of building the Bayit Shlishi, So if you look on, again, the first page of the source sheet, the first side, right, we have the Gemara Sukkah. The Mishnah there, towards top in Hebrew, Barishon HaYilulav Nitov Mikdash Shiva. Originally, the lulav was taken in the Beit HaMikdash all 7 days. Uva Medina Yom Echad. But outside the temple, the lulav and etrog was only taken on 1 day, the first day of Sukkot. Mishacharav Beit HaMikdash. Once the temple was destroyed, Hitkin of Yochanan ben Zakkai, Yochanan ben Zakkai established Shei lulav nitav Medina Shiva, that the lulav will be taken in the outside of the temple all 7 days. Zecher LeMikdash, as a remembrance of how it was done in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple, that we should not become separated, cut off from that whole Mikdash experience. V'shiyehei Yom HaNef Kulo Asur. Yom HaNef is referring to the waving of the Omer offering. Once the Omer offering was brought, we were allowed to now eat from Chadash, from the new grain, the grain of that year. And the Gemara goes through a number of discussions why we said the entire day should be prohibited. Because in the when there's a Beit HaMikdash standing, so then once it is actually waved, it becomes permitted. And that was always done before midday. And in the absence of a Beit HaMikdash, when we're not bringing that Omer offering, then from sunrise of that morning, it is permitted. So the Gemara goes on to explain that if everyone gets into the habit of eating already the Chadash, the new grains, on the 16th day from sunrise, then if the temple will suddenly be built, people will think, last year we ate it from sunrise, this year also we'll eat it from sunrise. So therefore they need to push it off. But why push it off the whole day? Push it off to midday. Even if the temple will be rebuilt, then by midday the Omer is brought and everyone can eat. So if we say only eat from midday and on, we'll be safe. The Gemara says, no, it might be built right then, and they'll never get, and they won't yet get to bringing the offering. And along the way there, take a look at the Rashi. The Rashi is on this side, right? This column, and it wraps under the Gemara. So the Gemara said, well, it might be built the 15th at night, and therefore there won't be enough time. Rashi says, there's 4 lines from the bottom. Inami, bold letter Inami, the Ivnei b'chamesar. It'll be built on the 15th, samuch l'shkiyat hachama, close to shkiyat hachama, and therefore it will be built, but it won't be brought until later on. So therefore, as a safeguard, they said, don't eat the new produce the entire day. The ikashib, you might ask, the balayla eino nivne. But we don't build the Beit HaMikdash at night. The Karmel we established in the Gemara in Shavuot, the ein binyan Beit HaMikdash balayla. The temple will not be built at night. Tichtiv uviyom hakim. On the day that it will be established. V'lo b'chamesar, and it can't be built on the 15th of Nisan, because the 15th of Nisan happens to be Yom Tov. Shehu Yom Tov. The Kaimalam B'Shvuah, we also hold there, the Ein Bina Beit HaMikdash Docha Yom Tov. Right, we know throughout that the building of Beit HaMikdash does not override Shabbos. That's why whenever the Torah mentions the Mishkan, it mentions Shabbos adjacent to it. And the same applies to Yom Tov. The building doesn't override Yom Tov, so we can't build it on the 15th. That's Yom Tov. We can't build it at night. Right? So therefore, oh, Ian, good to see you. So therefore it won't be up in the morning, so sunrise should permit it. So Rashi explains, Hani Mili, that applies to a binyan habanoi bidei adam. Oh, if we are building the temple, as we built the second temple, as we built the first temple, So that cannot be done at night, cannot be done on Yom Tov. Avam Mikdash Ha'atid. But the future temple, the future Mikdash, Sha'anu Mitzapin, which we look forward expectantly for its advent, Banui U'Meshuchlal Hu. It's already built. It's already Meshuchlal. It's all decked out. It's all set. Yigaleh V'Yavo Mishamayim. And that will reveal itself and descend from the heavens. Shenemar. All those who are at Minyan this morning, or not at Minyan, if you're diving by yourself and you said Az Yashir, you said these words, Mikdash Hashem, Konanu Yadecha. The Mikdash of Hashem that your, capital Y, your hands prepared. And therefore the concern is it's going to descend. Right then, maybe on Yom Tov. Right? We can't build it on Yom Tov. It might descend on Yom Tov. Maybe at night. We're not going to build it at night. It's going to descend at night. So therefore we see, according to this Rashi, quoting the Medrash, that this third temple is not going to be built by us. It's going to descend. Right? Not even IKEA style. It's already assembled. It's going to come down already from the Shamayim.
No instruction.
Okay? The Rambam, however, the Rambam, if you turn the page, the Rambam in his Laws of Melachim, chapter 11, and if you're ever curious to know, right, we went through this when we went through the Jewish view on Jesus, right? If you want to know what the requirements of a true Mashiach is, so take a look at the Rambam, Hilchos Melachim, Laws of Kings, chapter 11. He goes through it. And if you go to Chabad.org, they have a nice English translation of all of Rambam. And you could take a look over there. I'm just going through the very first part of it. He says, we have this both in Hebrew and in English, so everyone can follow as they feel most comfortable. HaMelech HaMashiach, the Messianic King, Atid La'amod, in the future will arise. Ulahachzir Malchut David Liyoshna Lememshalah, and he'll bring back the kingdom of David as it was. He will renew and restore that. Lememshalah Rishonah, as it was in its initial rule. Ubone Hamikdash, the Rambam says, and what will this Mashiach do? He will build the Mikdash. Umekabetz Nidchei Yisroel, and gather in the scattered of Israel. V'chozrin kol hamishpatim biyamav, and all the laws will come back into play. Keshayu mikonim, as it was prior to that. Makrivin karbanot, and will bring sacrifices. V'osin shmitot, shmitot v'yovel, we'll have our 7th sabbatical year. We'll have our 50th Jubilee Yovel year. K'chol mitzvata, according to all of the parameters, the mitzvot hamura written in the Torah. V'chol mi she'eno ma'amin bo, and anyone who does not believe in the coming of the Mashiach, or mi she'eno mechakeh li biato, or anyone who's not waiting for his arrival, lo b'shar neviim bilvadu kofer, he's not only denying the prophecy of other later prophets, ela b'Torah, uva Moshe Rabbeinu. Rather, it is the Torah and Moshe Rabbeinu and Moses that such a person is denying. Torah idolav. The Torah testifies about this, and it says, this is in Devarim Lamed, chapter 30 in Devarim, V'shav Hashem Elokecha et shivutcha, Hashem your God will bring back your remnants, V'richamcha, he'll have compassion on you, V'shav V'kibetzcha, he will gather you in, Im yedidacha b'sei hashemayim, if you will be scattered to the edges of the heavens, Vaviyacha Hashem will bring you back. So the Rambam says clearly over here that who will be building the Beit HaMikdash? We will. Okay.
But you just
However,
said
I'm sorry.
Mashiach. Didn't you say the Mashiach will go?
So there are two opinions.
Oh,
This is an exception that amongst Jews,
true. There's always more than
there's two opinions.
2 Jews, 3.
It's not unanimous.
But
2 Jews,
Three
3 opinions.
right in Rambam it says anybody who does not believe in him, but then it says the proof he brings is Hashem, not a Mashiach, will bring us.
Wait, he said anyone does not believe in this concept of Mashiach and all the restoral is denying the Torah. Yes, though.
You could,
Even if based on Josh comes complete, which that's a good idea, there still has to be one union component that needs to be done over there. I think the doors.
Okay, or Dove will probably need you to do the electricity. Okay, we'll call you in, Dove. Okay, now, so we don't, actually, just one second. Yeah, right? So the Rambam says it's Mashiach who build the Beit HaMikdash, and also it seems that we're going to need this divine guidance to know exactly how to build this Beit HaMikdash. So whether it's coming down ready-made from the heavens or we're building it, that has not yet happened. So how can we even discuss the possibility of sacrifices when the temple is not standing? So if you take a look at the next source, Rambam, Beit HaBechira, which means the chosen house, or the laws of the Beit HaMikdash, the Rambam says, well, again, both in Hebrew and in English, Lefichach makrivin hakorbanot kulan. We can bring sacrifices, afal pi she'ein sham bayit banoi, even if the bayit, the temple, is not built. V'ochlin kodshe kodshim v'kol ha'azara, and we could eat the holy of holy meat, sacrificial meat, from certain sacrifices which are on the highest level. They could be eaten in the entire courtyard of the temple, even though it's in a destroyed state. And it does not have walls, partitions around it. The less holy sacrifices, those which the portions which are eaten do not need to be eaten in the temple area, but can be eaten in the entire Jerusalem. Kachim kalim or Maser Sheni could be eaten b'chol Yerushalayim, throughout Yerushalayim. Aval pi she'ein sham chomot, even though there are no walls around Yerushalayim. Shakadusha rishona kidsha l'shata v'kidsha latid lavo, because that original kedusha, holiness that ascended, that descended onto those places, it was there for then and going forward, even after the temple would be destroyed, the walls would be destroyed. Therefore, it would seem that even though we're waiting for that third temple either coming down ready-made or built by the Mashiach, but our bringing of sacrifices is not dependent on that. And sacrifices could be able to, or should be able to be brought even in the absence of those of the temple, the Beis HaMikdash, being built. However, there are many, many challenges that stand in the way. Okay? For example, right, nowadays, when you go to the Kotel, there's a ramp that leads you up onto the Temple Mount. And there's a large sign from the rabbinate, the Rabbanut, saying that Jews should not go up there. Why should Jews not go up onto the Temple Mount?
because there's also a mosque there.
We're allowed to go to a mosque.
Because you don't know where you can stand and you can't stand.
Why? Why can't you stand?
Because we don't know where the Holy of Holies is.
No, we know where the Holy of Holies is. We know for sure which areas are not the Holy of Holies. We're not going into the Mishkan, the Holy, the Kodesh, or the Kodesh Kadashim. So why shouldn't we go up there?
Because the Muslims don't want us to.
That's why we shouldn't go up there. Right? That's the reason why we shouldn't go up there. The argument could be made. Dov?
Our tumor is
Okay. We are all ritually impure. We are all tamei. No problem. Go to the mikveh first.
no.
Okay. Because the mikveh will help for certain degrees, levels of tumah, of ritual impurity, but not for tamei mate. Not for those who come in contact with a deceased body, with the corpse. So we are all tamei mate. So we can't go onto the area. Now there are those who say, yes, you can go up there. And we know which areas were the azara, with the courtyard. Forget about the holy of holies. But even the courtyard, we need to stay away from there. But we know where those areas are, and we will avoid those areas.
Didn't Rambam go up there? Wasn't Rambam went up
Well, the question is, where is there?
there? Well, yeah, but
Okay? So, everyone agrees that you can go to the area which is not the azara. The question is, do we know where the azara is or not? But coming back to our issue over here, right? If we're all tamei mate, and we don't have the para aduma, the red heifer, in order to go through the proper purification process, so how could Rav Kalisher say that we can bring karbanot? Right? You can't have kohanim, you can't have people bringing karbanot if we are tamei. And based on that question, he limited his proposal to those karbanot which can be brought when a kohen is in a state of tumah, of impurity, when we have a situation that rove tzibur, that majority of the congregation of the nation is in such a state. And we certainly have that. The vast majority, if not everyone, is in such a state. So therefore, there are certain sacrifices which can be brought bituma when rove tzibur, majority of the congregation, is in that state of tumah, of ritual impurity. And that includes different karbanot tzibur, communal offerings, and also includes the karban Pesach, for that matter. So therefore, that would not preclude our bringing the karban Pesach. Okay, there's another issue. Right, nowadays, produce from Israel, we need to tithe it. We take off truma, right? 2% is truma, or whatever, certain percent is truma, and then maser. Now, the maser rishon that goes to the Levite, that a non-Kohen is allowed to eat. So being that no one can prove their status as a Levite, can properly prove their status as a Levite, we separate it so that the food's been properly tithe, but then we could eat that ourselves. The truma we need to separate, but we don't give that to a Kohen. What do we do with that? What do you do with the challah, ladies, when you separate challah?
Burn it.
Burn it. What are you supposed to do with it? Give it to a Kohen. But nowadays, why are we supposed to burn it instead? Because we don't want a non-Kohen to eat it. Heaven forbid. A non-Kohen eats it, it's terrible. It's a heavenly death penalty. So don't give it to a non-Kohen, give it to a Kohen. Who is a Kohen? Right? There is a Kohen miyuchas, a Kohen who has very clear lineage, meaning that we have testimony that he's the son of a Kohen, the son, until we get the testimony that this person served in the Beit HaMikdash. So we know that he was a Kohen. As long as we have the lineage from there, we know this person is a Kohen. Short of that, we have what's called a muchzak, a Kohen. That's a Kohen miyuchas, who has that clear yichus. Otherwise, we have a Kohen who is muchzak, a chazakah. He's a Kohen. Why is he Kohen?
His name is
His father's name is Cohen. His father, but so is this black picture for them in major leagues, right? But his father was a Cohen. You know the famous joke story. The guy goes to the Rabbi, I want to become a Cohen. I can't make you a Cohen. I want to become a Cohen. Right? Every day, Rabbi, I want to be a Cohen. Finally says to him, why do you want to be a Cohen? My father was a Cohen. My grandfather was a Cohen. I want to be a Cohen. That's our Cohen today. How do you know he's a Cohen? His father said he was a Cohen. How does he know? His grandfather said he was a Kohen. Oh, we found that there were, this symbol on the gravestone of his father, of his grandfather, right? So that's how we say, okay, that person must be a Kohen. And therefore, we will regard him as a Kohen. When it comes to Pidyon Haben, redeeming the firstborn son, that's who we'll call him. When it comes to Duchening, the Kohen's giving the bracha, he goes up there. When it comes to getting the first aliyah, we give it to him. When it comes to forbidden marriages, we give it to him. But when it comes to doing service, avoda, in the Beit HaMikdash, there you need to have a Kohen who is miyuchas, who has that yichus. Take a look at the next Rambam. Rambam, Isurei Bia 21. Kol HaKohanim, both Hebrew and English. Kol HaKohanim bizman hazeh. All the Kohanim in our days, b'chazaka heim Kohanim. They have a chazaka, an established status of Kohanim. But they're not miyuchas. They don't have that clear lineage proof. Vein ochel b'katshei hagvul. And they can only eat the truma that comes from outside of Israel, which only has a rabbinic status of truma. Truma shel divreihem. It's only rabbinic truma, but not Torah level truma. But truma shel Torah, v'chala shel Torah, bonafide truma, bonafide chala, ain't ochelota. That cannot be eaten ella only by a kohen miyuchas. So in the time of the third temple, we're going to need Mashiach. We're going to need Eliyahu Navi, who's going to testify, yes, this person is a Kohen Miyuchas. But short of that, we don't have Kohanim who can do the Avoda.
Nowadays, they have these tests that they give people. But these tests are still not valid.
That would not help. The reason that, excellent point, Chaya Rivka, the reason that will not help is, yes, that will establish, perhaps, that based on the DNA, certain markers, he is a descendant from this Kohen line. Wonderful. Right? That's on the father's side. And it's determined by the father. But let's say the father, the Kohen, married a divorced woman. That's not reflected in her DNA. Right? Not reflected in his DNA. Right? But the son is no longer a Kohen. He's a Chalal.
It's not reflected in the son's DNA either?
The father's DNA is reflected in the son's DNA. So look at the DNA, we say he's a Kohen. We look at two brothers, right? One was from the Kohen and his first wife. That son's a Kohen. The second is from the Kohen and his second wife, who was a divorcee. That son is not a Kohen.
Okay.
So there's so many things that can happen along the way that can turn a Kohen's progeny into what's called a halal, one who's been desecrated from kahuna. Therefore, the DNA will not help us. So Rav Kalisha wanted to demonstrate that in our days, Bizman Hazeh, the avoda, the service in the Beit HaMikdash, can be done by Kohanei Chazaka, by Kohanim who don't have this clear Yichus lineage, but through, my father was a Kohen, my grandfather was a Kohen, therefore I want to be a Kohen, I'm a Kohen. Such a Kohen can do that service, but again, the other authorities, Akiva Eger, Rav Ettlinger, did not accept that, rejected that.
Are there existing any real Kohanim that can do that?
Nowadays, the only thing we have is a chazaka. We are, centuries and centuries and centuries away from those who did the avoda. So nowadays we have no one who's miyuchas. Another issue, if we can get past the yichus, is that a person must be wearing big day. The Kohen has got to be the kihuno. He's got to be wearing the garments of the Kohen. So if you go to Yerushalayim, I encourage you to go visit the Temple Institute, actually founded by an old friend of mine from high school. right? And there, at the Temple Institute, they are preparing, you'll see many pictures of this also, the big, beautiful menorah. It's actually gold. They are preparing vessels for the Bayit Shlishi. I guess they're going like the Rambam, that we have to prepare it, and they're preparing, and they have, you go to the museum there, or not museum, but you go to the Temple Institute, and you'll see they have garments of the Kohanim all set, ready to go. Small, medium, large, extra large, off the shelf.
They
You have
also
your
have
garments.
the musical instruments.
They also have the musical instruments.
Because,
What
the man
about
who made the musical instruments took the shavings, the leftovers, he made me a necklace that I wear on Shabbat.
Beautiful. Beautiful. This Shabbat, I will make a point of noticing and
I'll show it to
have
you.
Chai Rivka show us
He
her,
was the one
her
who made
necklace.
the instruments.
Nice.
in the Temple
Beautiful.
Institute, yeah.
What
But there,
What about the breastplate? If they prepare the garments for the Kohen, the breastplate with all the stones?
so the breastplate is only for the Kohen Gadol, and we don't need the Kohen Gadol. We don't need the high priest garments to do the avoda. I don't know if they have a choshen or not. I'm not sure. However, one of the components of the Bigdei Kahuna is wool that's dyed to the color of Techelet. Oh, interesting. Now, any avoda done by a Kohen not wearing the proper garments is invalid. So where do we get to where do we need to get the Techelet, that blue dye, from? The Chilazon. Okay, but what is that Chilazon? So some say that it is a snail known as the Murex trunculus. And that is now available for use in tzitzit. And many tzitzit you'll see now have the techelet on it. However, it's a bit of a controversy. Is that truly the techelet or not? And most regard it as a suffix techelet. It might be techelet. And therefore, when it comes to putting it onto your tzitzit, if you'd like to, you can. But when it comes to Bigdei Kahuna, the garments of the Kohen, so that is, according to most, a serious impediment towards bringing sacrifices, that the Kohen will not be wearing garments that we know are the proper garments. At best, it is a suffix, it is a doubt. And unless he's wearing the proper garments, he can't be bringing the sacrifices. How about another issue, which is the Mizbeach, the altar? I might not need a Beit HaMikdash, but do I need to have an altar? The proper Mizbeach that is set up. The Mishnah speaks about, we do Zrikat Dam, there's a sprinkling of the blood onto the Mizbeach. That's what allows the meat to then be eaten. The Rambam writes, and that's our last, I'm sorry, not the Bam Bam. Pardon me, that was nothing to do with the Flintstones. That was supposed to be the Rambam. I apologize. Okay, the Rambam. The Rambam in Beit HaBechira 2:1 writes in Hebrew and English, HaMizbeach Mikomo Mechuvan Biyoter. The Mizbeach, the altar, has to be in a very, very precise, Mechuvan, precise Biyoter. Very, very precise. Ve'ein Mishanin Oto Mimakomo La'olam. And it cannot be changed from that place, ever. Shenemar, as it says, Zem Mizbach Lo'olah Yisroel. Right, this is the Mizbeach for the Ola, for the ascent offering, for Yisroel. Uva Mikdash, Nekad Yitzchak Avinu. Right? And it was in this place where the temple will be built, where the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, took place. Nekad Yitzchak Avinu. Shem Avalach Lechal Eretz HaMoriah. The Ne'emar, it says in Divrei Hayamim, Vayechal Shlomo Livnot et Beit Hashem. Shlomo finished building the house of Hashem, the Beit HaMikdash, the temple in Yerushalayim, Bahar Moriah, Asher nira leDavid avihu, that which was shown to David his father. Asher hechin b'makom David, right, in the place where David prepared it. Begoren Arnon haYevusi, right, on the threshing floor of Arnon the Yevusi. So it must be a very, very exact location. Now, it would seem that a Navi, as we had in the second temple, a Navi would need to tell us exactly where it is. So Rav Kalisher says, well, since the walls of Har HaBayit are still standing, we just can follow the measurements. There's a Masechet Midot, the tractate of measurements, which gives all the measurements of the Beit HaMikdash, inside and out. So just follow that, and you'll know where the Mizbeach should be placed. He says a Navi was required by the second Beit HaMikdash because the walls of the first Beit HaMikdash were destroyed. But now that the walls are still standing, use the Mishnayot in Midot, follow the directions, and you'll know the measurements, and you know exactly where the Mizbeach is. Others say the walls we see today may be the walls of the Azara, not of Har HaBayit, and we don't know exactly the measurement of an Amma. Halachically, we say an Amma is either 1.5 or 2 feet, right? Different opinions, ranging from 1.5 to 2 feet. So once you start applying that variable, we no longer know exactly where the Mizbeach is meant to be. There are other considerations. So we see why Rav Kalisher's opinion did not carry the day and does not carry the day in our world either. Rav Shachta points out there are other considerations. And that is that there are, again, surprisingly, different opinions when it comes to many of these things. So how do we know which is the right opinion? Right? I mentioned before from the Rambam that Kedusha Rishona Kitcher L'Shata V'Kitcher L'Atid Lavo. The Kedusha that was there remains even after the destruction. That's not an opinion that everyone agrees with. Right there in the Rambam we have the Ravid, who often argues with the Rambam, and he says that no, Har HaBayit is no longer holy, and therefore we need the Mashiach to come and to rededicate, re-sanctify the area in order to bring Karbanot. Right? He quotes Rabbi J. David Bleich points out, right, that we don't have a tradition on how things were done. Right? For example, we know that the animal, the Karban Pesach, was roasted almost in its entirety. How about the Gid HaNasheh? The Gid HaNasheh, the sciatica nerve that we're not allowed to eat. Was that roasted as part of the Karban Pesach or not? Now, if you hold that it is, then if you roast it without that, you haven't properly roasted the Karban Pesach. So you're not allowed to eat it. If you hold that it's not part of the Karban Pesach, then it must be out. And if you roast it with it inside, guess what? It's not kosher. It's not kosher. So we have fundamental halachic debates where you can't go one way or the other. If I go this way, it's invalid according to that opinion. I go that way, it's invalid according to this opinion.
Well, even though we don't have the tradition, wouldn't the resolution, although we don't know, have been to roast it in its entirety and then cut away that whole part and not eat it?
No, because you can't have added things being roasted either. You can't have added things being roasted. It's supposed to be roasted without it. You can't roast it with it. right?
I meant, but,
And the korban needs to be eaten in its entirety,
oh, okay.
right? So interesting.
That's
There are
surprising.
those that say that divine providence works through halacha. A very, very interesting concept. In other words, something that I've stated often, right? We believe, we say it in every Musaf davening, that the sacrifices will be reinstated. Now, I don't think we are ready to bring sacrifices. Personally, I would be challenged to see the deep spirituality, right, in animal sacrifice. It doesn't give me this sense of kedusha, of holiness, because I don't understand it. The lacking is in me. But that's where I'm at, and I think that's where many of us might be at. So before that's going to be reinstated, there will need to be this awakening, this understanding of what it's about. So, in many ways, if we're not ready for something, then it's not the hashgacha, the divine providence, will make sure that we're not yet ready to be doing it. Okay? So therefore, if there are all of these halachic impediments towards rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash, that is an indication, those halachic impediments reveal to us the divine providence that it is not yet the time for us to be building this Beit HaMikdash and to be bringing sacrifices. But I do have a quote in the last piece over there. Rav Amital, though, recently stated at Yeshivat Har Etzion. Har Etzion is known as Yeshivat Gush. Okay? That is profoundly wrong for the Israeli government to relinquish sovereignty over the Temple Mount. Although we are unable to offer karbanot today, we should take steps to reaffirm our connection to the Beit HaMikdash. We may do so by studying the halachot pertaining to the function of the Beit HaMikdash, either in Mishnayot or in the Rambam's Mishnah Torah. And this is something that the Chavetz Chaim wrote about often. The Chavetz Chaim would say, there's a mitzvah we saw before in the Rambam to look forward to the Mashiach coming. And we actually say in our Amidah, every time we say the weekday Amidah, Ki li Yeshuatcha, Kivinu kol hayom. Because for your redemption, Kivinu, we're waiting, kol hayom. Not kol yom, not every day, kol hayom, the entire day. We are waiting for it. See, he used to meet Chavetz Chaim would meet a boy. You're a Kohen? Yes, I'm a Kohen. Oh, wonderful. So, tell me the laws of the Avodah. How are you going to do it? I don't know. I'm learning Baba Metzia. I'm learning Baba Basra. I'm learning Kedushin, Gitin, Yavamas, Ksuvis. But how can you say that you're actually hoping for the Beis HaMikdash to come if you're not preparing for it? If you're not going to know what to do? And he would push people, at least the Kohanim, to learn these laws. So, if the Hashgacha Pratit, if the divine providence is such that at this point we don't have the Beit HaMikdash because we're not ready for it, so then it behooves us on a personal level, on a study level, to become more familiar with this Beit HaMikdash, to prepare ourselves, and on a political level he also brought, not to detach ourselves from that Makom Mikdash, from the place of the Mikdash, and we hope that Mhera V'Yameinu Sheyibaneh Beit HaMikdash, the temple, will be rebuilt, whether it's coming down ready from Shemayim or we need to assemble it ourselves. We look forward, Sipita li Yeshua. The Gemara says one of the first questions that a person is asked once they leave their earthly role and cross that Gesher HaChayim, the bridge of life, to go to the next world, one of the first questions that they're asked is Sipita li Yeshua. Did you wait expectantly, hopefully, for the redemption? May it come speedily in our days, and may we actually bring a Korban Pesach and appreciate the holiness and the beauty of it as we enjoy our shawarma at the Seder. Okay.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Does any other religion
Go.
have sacrifices? I mean, I don't know.
Nowadays,
Muslims, I don't know, they sacrifice. I don't know.
I don't know.
Christianity